we continue to review this book that claims to give us a complete repertoire against 1d4 using the Nimzo-Indian and Queen's Indian, and also against c4 or knight f3. It's really a good thing that the author tries to cover all the bases and not make us buy endless books. In this case, I don't want to show you really a game from the repertoire. I want to show you the second game in the introduction because the author, Grandmaster Nigel Davies, says this is a very important historical example, and we should all know the classic of chess because they teach us something that we can connect later. In this case, this game was played in Dresden 1926, so practically nearly 100 years ago. P. Joner was white, white is this side, and Aaron Nimzo was black. The game starts with d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, and bishop b4. So this is the Nimzo-Indian, right? Here it says, although this spin had been played in a few games in the 1880s, it was Nimzo who popularized it in the 1920s during the rise of the hypermodern movement. This game would contribute considerably toward this popularization. So this is why we need to watch this game. Okay? e3, castle, bishop d3, c5. As we can see, and this is also what we must learn. They develop the pieces, but they also attack the center at master level, right? There is always this fighting for the center. Bishop f3, not bishop f3, knight f3, knight c6. So as you can see, there is the fight for d4, castle. Now that the castle, what do you do with this? Because this is pinning nothing, right? So you have a choice to make. Do you keep this bishop or you give it away? Is this knight more important than this bishop? Here in the game, Nimzo played bishop takes c3, and Nigel Davies writes, giving up the bishop pair to double white's pawn. This concept would later be revived by the German Grandmaster Robert Hübner. And unfortunately we just lost Robert Hübner. He was a nice guy. Let's see. B takes c3, d6. And here there is a diagram. Having exchanged his dark square bishop, Nimzo establishes his pawns on dark squares. We will encounter this strategy in numerous lines in the repertoire presented. Knight d2, b6. White's previous move, prepare to meet e5 with d5. So if you play this, he would play this, right? And then there would be, in case of knight a5, knight b3. Okay, so let's see. Knight b3. Instead of this, why should I prefer the f4? An immediate f4. And it seems Nimzo commented on this, you know, guys. This is kind of interesting because instead of knight f3, knight b3, f4, and Nimzo gave this sequel: e5, f takes e5, d takes e5, and now d5. knight a5, knight b3, knight b7, e4, and knight e8 with approximate equality. That's kind of interesting, right? So here there is a diagram that gives this position that we have just analyzed. Okay. So why I tell you it's interesting? Okay, first two things, because this is a review, right? I must review the book. As you can see, there is a thing I don't like. The diagrams are all oriented from the white side, but this is a repertoire for black, and so it should be oriented from the black side. Two, the diagram here of this analysis is identical to the diagram not of the analysis, the diagram that you find in the book. So it's a little difficult to distinguish which one is which. Okay? However, here there is a question. Does white pass the pawn not give him an advantage? Because this, I'm sure, is the question you ask yourself. And this is a very good part of the book. You see, he asks you a question that every average club player would ask. The answer of a Grandmaster is not in this case. It will be firmly blockaded by a black knight, which then puts pressure on the e4 and c4 pawns. So he says that one of these two is gonna blockade this and put pressure on this. Notice also that this, at this point, is a pawn. Why is a pawn? Because what is actually doing is controlling two other pawns, so is a pawn too. Okay. Now I will return back to the previous diagram and continue the game from there. Okay, we were in this position where the author and Nimzo wrote about this move. Instead, in the game, knight b3 was played. Okay, so what do you think that black should continue with? And why do I tell you, what do I ask you that? Obviously in the book is not asked, but in the opening this is one of the most important thing. It's this fight for the center. I remember that sometimes when I was like an 1800 I had difficulties, especially playing against stronger players. They were always able to get the center and I wasn't. And so that was a thing that I really felt. And so something you should train yourself to understand. There is a beautiful course that I have with a lot of games which are examples of controlling, fighting for the center from classical games. So maybe one day, if I have a time, I will make the videos. For the moment, black played e5. Okay, so as you can see, there is a fight here in the center. Here, of course, you need to calculate what happens if he plays d5. It seems e4 would have been next. And here, of course, there is a big analysis that the author put in the book to prove a point. But in the game, Joner played f4, to which was followed e4, bishop e2, and queen d7. Here it says a brilliant non-standard move by black, which restrains a white kingside pawn advance. Obviously there was also the middle of knight e8 and f5. That's a possibility, and here it speaks about it. Okay. here at this point it seems there have been some attempts to improve white play, and the author shows a couple of games from 1974 and 2001 that have this same position and how they went on. In this game it was played h3, knight e7, and here white played queen e1. Here they say this move queen e1 is a mistake. Why? Because it allows black to blockade the king side. So it seems the move that should have been played was this. No? But it's not clear if white can win or there is only a draw and so on. Okay, so take it with a grain of salt, like they say. However, queen e1 was played, and again at this point put yourself in black shoes and tell me what would you play, because you see, once more, this is why I show you these games, because here it's not a question of tactics like you say you learn in tactics trainer or opening memorization. Here you need to understand the needs of this position. So what is the need of this position? That you need to stop a kingside attack. How do you do that? h5 is the move that Nimzo-Indian played. So here white continued with bishop d2, but the question here is why white didn't play this, right? Attacking this. So again, pause the video, try to find the answer. If you don't want to pause the video, I will give you the answer, but remember, it's bad, because if you don't do the exercise you will never improve. It's because of knight f5, then queen g5, because you continue to attack this, right? Oops. And then when you play this, what do you think it happens? Oops. Okay. And of course here black win an exchange for a pawn, so that's why it wasn't so wise to attack the h5 pawn. Now let's try to go back, right? Go back. I think we're in this position. Yeah, so we were in this position. And here he played bishop d2. Black continue with queen f5, and here the author writes, continuing the plan of a kingside blockade, but it seems that this was checked with an engine, but this book is from when, because that's also the problem, right, of when you Fritz 13. Yeah, this book is from 2021 to 2021, so it's a while ago. And here he says that he used the Chess Tempo Online database and Deep Fritz 13. Deep Fritz for 13 is a very, very old engine, okay? Because I think in 2021 we were already maybe at Fritz 16 or 17. I don't know which version we are now, sorry, I forgot. If it's 18 maybe. In any case, he played queen f5, king h2. Oh, I think I saw this game. Now that I see this move, queen h7, ooh, wow, I finally remember this game, because this game was used as example of a blockade as example of this beautiful maneuver. So that's why we should have watched this game right away. Yeah. Not only because it's part of an Nimzo-Indian opening course, but because of this maneuver. This was difficult to find, probably. Yeah? And here it says, completing his plan of restraint, after which white is unable to find an active plan. White may already be lost because he can only watch black improve his position and prepare a decisive breakthrough with an eventual g7, g5. So at the right moment, g7, g5 is the move which will be played. So it's practically putting the white in zugzwang, right? e4, knight f5, g3, a5. And here there is a question. Again, as you can see, the book is however good because the Grandmaster is asking a lot of questions that a club player would ask. And the question is, does, obviously this, not leave the pawn b6 very weak? The answer is it does, but it also stops white from exchanging his weak a pawn with a4, a5. So this is a more serious weakness than this, and that's kind of important, right? Rook g1, knight h6, bishop f1, bishop d7, as you can see is aiming at the weakness, bishop c1, rook a c8. Okay, very good. So he wants to blockade one side because so he can counter-attack on the other, I think. That's the interesting part. d5, king h8. Oh, wow, look at that move. Look at that move. This move wants to prepare g5, putting the rook there. Oh, wow. A beautiful move, yeah. And a beautiful game, as you can see. It's a game that you really want to see over and over. Knight d2, rook g8. Finally getting ready to start an attack based on the g7, g5 lever. There is not a lot of white can do about it because his position has been rendered so passive. Bishop g2, g5. Knight f1. So he's bringing all the pieces to protect the king side, which is good. I mean, but unfortunately. Rook g7, rook a2. Look how this rook is trying to work the defense on the second rank. Beautiful, beautiful also this. Knight f5 and bishop h1. Joner has done a decent job of organizing his defense. Yes, this is nice, but it is not enough to hold the position. What can you do? Rook cg8, queen d1, g takes f4. This would have been a harder decision that might first appear, although black opens the g file, he also opened the e file for white. E takes f4, bishop c8, and of course in reality here there was already a winning combination. So in case you want to practice your tactics, try to pause the video and think, okay? It seems that the right move was knight g4, after which when it takes here, h4. And then of course when rook g2, h takes g3, rook g2, h takes g3, and king g1 he escape, but is not enough. So try to analyze that possibility, knight g4, and find out for yourself because it's kind of very interesting. However, in the game, what did he play? Let's see. He played bishop c8. Okay. Queen b3, attacking there, and bishop a6. Nice move. Rook e2, knight h4. Wow, wow, what a massacre is this. So it seems that Nimzo at this point calculated knight d2, and there was a possible queen sacrifice, but in the game rook e3 was played, and I'm going a little faster because we are already at 20 minutes, right? And I know the attention must have gone away a long time ago. Bishop c8, queen c2, and now what would you play if you were black? Obviously it was given away by bishop c8. If he put the thing there is a reason, right? Because he wants to clean the line, since he has two rooks on this blocking the king, a queen here that if he can go through it can mean a checkmate, right? So bishop takes e4, and you should analyze obviously what happened if king takes h3, because it leads to mate in about 3 moves, okay? So you can watch that. Bishop takes e4, bishop f5, bishop takes f5, knight takes f5, and here we have rook e2, h4, rook g, g2, so this is a theme, h takes g3, check from that woman, king g1, queen h3, knight e3, and now there is knight h4, king f1, and rook e8, and here the game is over. Why the game is over? Because let's say that he plays I don't know, king e1, check, king d1, oops, and this leads to a checkmate, right? Because if you play this, takes, if you play this, checkmate right away. I think it was a very interesting game that we must watch, because that maneuver, queen f5 and h7, absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. And so that's why you need to try to memorize this game, because it's teaching you a lot. Thank you for watching, see you next time.